The Angels of Death have fought in the name of the Imperium for over 10 millennia. Said to have comprised more than 1,000 chapters of many martial creeds, while some have earned countless glories, others rest eternal, little more than footnotes of humanity's history. Yet all have been wearied with the passage of time, their countless last stands and perilous campaigns requiring a new breed to give life to this ailing band of super soldiers. For today, we shall elucidate the transhuman warriors, forged from the genius of the Emperor and toil of the Archmagos Dominus, Belisarius Cawl. The Ultima founding of the Adeptus Astartes. The Angels of Defiance are an Ultima founding successor chapter of the Dark Angels. Comprised entirely of Primaris Space Marines during the final days of the 41st millennium, the Angels of Defiance hold true to the words of their Primarch, Lionel Johnson: "He who endures, conquers." Capable of enduring immense suffering in order to protect the Imperium, though a fledgling chapter by all accounts, their limited service has regardless earned them high praise in the eyes of the Imperium. Adhering to the culture and conventions of their Unforgiven chapter peers, the Angels of Defiance have formed their own elite first and second companies, as well as an inner circle elite who toil to hunt down the fallen. Clad in quartered ceramite of bone white and black livery, each Space Marine adorns their armor with bone white aquillas on their chests and tactical rolls on their right pauldrons, designating their squad identifier with black logothic numerals on the center of such designs. As a partially Codex-compliant chapter, its members likewise to their peers utilize unique markings on their right knee plate to identify their squad. The symbol of their chapter, a key made of bone, centered on a field of black, symbolizes their duty to guard the secrets of their order from those not worthy to unearth their dark past. Each veteran donning forest green tabards and cloaks to signify their knowledge of the fallen. With the rise of the redeemed, risen of the Lion, it is unclear what new purpose these guardians of their former shame shall undertake. The Blades of Vengeance are an Ultima founding successor chapter of the Dark Angels. Proven many times over during the Indomitus Crusade, their liberation of dozens of planets from oppression and destruction of doomed dens of heretics has earned them high praise in the eyes of the Imperium. Perceiving their time as members of the Crusade to benefit their brethren's hunt for the fallen angels of their past, their involvement during the War of Beasts was seen as peculiar due to their independent fighting far from other Imperial forces. Clad in forest green ceramite in honor of their primogenitor, with bone white faceplates and pauldrons, each Astartes bears a red aquila on their chest, marking their tactical role with black paint on their right pauldron with red logothic numerals centered on the designs to indicate their squad. Alike to other Unforgiven chapters, the Blades of Vengeance utilize heraldry on their right knee plate to identify their squad. The symbol of their chapter, a white downward sword on a shield of black, epitomizes their duty to take up arms in defense of the Imperium. Brilliant in their execution of counterattacks, and famed for upholding their Primarch's characteristic military pedigree during the Battle of Idolatros, the Blades of Vengeance shoulder the burden as the first of the Ultima founding, gifted with his gene seed. The Prime Absolvers are an Ultima founding successor chapter of the Dark Angels. A dour and foreboding chapter, with their discovery of the fallen angels of their lineage, the chapter regardless felt no obligation to share the burden of their Unforgiven peers. Their chapter master, Dargael Han, imparting the knowledge given by Supreme Grand Master Azrael to his own inner circle, the chapter regardless treat the fallen alike to any other warband of traitor Space Marines, and refuse to supersede their own objectives when locating its members. Clad in blue ceramite, adorned with grey pauldron trim, deep red helmets, pauldron insets, arm plating and chest aquillas, the chapter marks their tactical role with white paint on their right pauldron, with black high Gothic numerals atop such designs, signifying their squad. The symbol of their chapter, a white 12-spoked wheel on a field of red, mimics the ancient torture device, the breaking wheel. Foreboding this chapter's dour nature, all who behold the sigil of their order quake with fear, envisioning their doomed fate to suffer broken bones and public execution. The Unnamed are an Ultima Founding successor chapter of the Dark Angels. Weighed heavily by the shame of their knowledge of the Fallen upon reuniting with their primogenitor, the Unnamed refuse to assume a title nor homeworld for their chapter. Clad in yellow ceramite, adorned with black faceplates, orange trim, and chest aquillas, each Astartes marks their tactical role with black paint on their right pauldron, with white High Gothic numerals to identify their squad. The symbol of their chapter, a black feathered quill on a field of yellow, epitomizes their duty to draft a new future for their unforgiven kin. Determined to seek out and destroy the fallen angels, it is unclear what new objective these Primaris Space Marines shall pursue with the return of the Lion and redemption of the Risen, with some speculating that soon they shall be deemed worthy of adopting a new title. The Storm Reapers are an Ultima Founding successor chapter of the White Scars. As the first of the Primaris chapters derived from the lineage of the Warhawk of Jagoris, these warriors imbued with the blood of the Kargan are among the most fervent of their creed. Characteristically noble and wise, as is the typical demeanor of the progeny of Jagatai Khan, their service during the Absolutist Crusade exemplified their ferocity in battle. Further gloried for their combat during the Brimstone Stampede, fighting alongside the Grey Knights chapter against the Thralls of Khorne, the chapter also fought during the War of Beasts, stationed on the world of Vigilus. Clad in white ceramite, adorned with black chest aquillas and backpacks, the chapter derived their heraldic designs from the Jagun tribe of their homeworld. Echoing the lightning bolt motifs of their primogenitor with black paint, the chapter uses such designs on their left knee plate or greaves to identify their company. Marking their tactical role on their right pauldron with black paint, each Astartes stencils white High Gothic numerals on their design to identify their squad. The symbol of their chapter, a black double-bladed battle axe flanked by red lightning bolts on a field of white, epitomizes their martial skill and reverence for their forebears. Standing proud as the foremost Primaris sons of their gene-sire, the Storm Reapers continue to carve their Primarch's legacy across the stars with the edge of their blades. The Wolf Spear are an Ultima Founding successor chapter of the Space Wolves. Thanks to the genius of Archmagos Dominus Belisarius Cawl, these inheritors of the Wolf King's genetic line are the first to be sired from their primogenitor in 10,000 years. The Rout's last ill-fated attempt to create a successor chapter, the Wolf Brothers, damned to corrupting mutations, this new breed of the Sky Warriors of Russ have proven extremely effective in combating the enemies of the Imperium. Comparatively dour when contrasted to their more light-hearted kinsmen, the Wolf Spear's taciturn nature belies their savagery as hunters. Their title derived from the legendary Spear of Russ, reflecting their dire need for a reluctant weapon to pierce the hearts of their enemies. Composed of the Primaris reinforcements left over from Rabute Guillem's replenishment of the Vilca Fenrica's great companies, their large stature, wrought from the technologies of Mars, have proven difficult for their primogenitor to accept. Unproven in the eyes of their kin, the Wolf Spear took little time in proving their worth. In time given sanction by the Great Wolf Logan Grimnar's Kin Pact declaration that these soldiers were indeed worthy to fight alongside his own men. Demanding these new upstarts to adhere to the teachings and customs of the Space Wolves, the Grey Shields of Guilliman issued the Lord of Ultramar's doctrines in favor of the Creed of the Rout. Under strength and fleet-based during their inception, The Wolfspear incorporated Fenrisian recruited Firstborn Marines to bolster their numbers, forming bonds of brotherhood through instinct. Honoring the sacrifice of those Grey Shields who fell before the formation of their chapter, the feats of the First Slain live on in the Wolfspear's retaining of the colorless grey plate of the Fallen. Largely emotionless in their dealings with outsiders, even the Space Wolves find their brooding demeanor to jar with their own buoyant nature, with even Wolflord Eric Morkai remarking on their peerless focus. Resembling the terror tactics and brutal maneuvers of the Sons of Morkai, as a show of respect, Eric seconded his most experienced Wolf Scouts to aid this fledgling chapter. Containing the feral beast which lurks within their souls, the Canis Helix, regardless of their Primaris-enhanced physiology, calls out and can lead to their transformation into Wolfen. Piquing the interest of Logan Grimnar, who saw in them a strong weird, the Great Wolf granted further reinforcements of his own great company to the ranks of what were now regarded as the Grim Wolves, or Dark Terror. Now bolstered with several ascended Firstborn Marines of the Champions of Fenris who had endured the Rubicon Primaris, the Wolfspear, now replete with warriors of both grizzled and fresh-faced warriors, began to form bonds of unbreakable brotherhood. Prowling the void in search of prey, the absence of a world to call their own fostered a restlessness within the heart of the chapter, the lack of a half, regardless enhancing their combat prowess, alike to the immense krakens of the depths of Fenris. Constructing outposts across the galaxy to aid in the resupply of their fleet, the lairs of the Wolfspear team with rugged potential candidates to be inducted into their ranks, though the chapter also draws recruits from the desert deathworld of Zordion and Ice Moon of Zindos II. Nominally utilizing their strike cruiser, the Umbral Claw, as their mobile fortress monastery, the flagship of High Jarl Idixtianulf houses the chapter's armory, spiritual sanctuaries, and court of the Jarls. Supported by small flotillas of escort and attack craft, rallied by the strike cruisers of each Jarl, the Wolfspear fleets champion agility, firepower, and stealth in order to harry the enemies of the Allfather. Targeting the most deadly war assets within the battle lines of their foes, the Wolfspear unleashed devastation from the shadows before returning to the safety of their embrace. Competition is rife within the Jarldoms, the chapter's efficiency suffering when committed to protracted campaigns, whilst deadlier prey taunt them from beyond. Committing their efforts to the war zones of Imperium Nihilus, this beleaguered expanse of the galaxy harbors among the mightiest enemies of humanity. Mobilizing their forces to patrol the perilous Narkmund Gauntlet, which bisects the Cicatrix Maledictum, every Jarl of the chapter bellows the name of the Wolf King as their companies carve their glory into the flesh of their enemies in scattered formations. Tracking their foes through the void upon acquiring the scent of their prey, upon their Rune Priest's discovery of a ripple in the warp, the chase begins. Observing their enemies using stealth monitoring until the opportune time to strike presents itself, the Wolfspear's infiltrators prowl the foe's battle lines before making their devastating first strike, supported by Eliminator packs. As panic spreads, the Outriders of the chapter and Thunderwolf cavalry descend upon them, gorging themselves on the fear of their enemies as their blades and teeth sink deep. Relentlessly harrying those which attempt to escape, few have the stamina nor constitution to survive the devastating attacks of the Wolfspear. Revering tradition alike to their primogenitor, each battle brother practices oath-making as the saga of their chapter continues to grow, carving runes upon their weapons and armor, inlaid with the powdered bones of their fallen kin. It is not uncommon for battle brothers to ink their vows unto their flesh, forming subpacks known as Oathbound to pursue shared objectives such as avenging slain pack alphas. On completion of their objectives, such bands of warriors shall toast within their feasting halls. Grouping its Astartes into 7 Jarldoms, each elects a proven veteran akin to the ranks of Wolflord to lead them. Highly autonomous in nature, though each Jarl defers to the judgment of their chapter master, known as the High Jarl on occasions, in practice, each Jarldom courses their own trails to hunt, promoting proven Astartes as battle leaders to command each demi-company of the Jarldoms. Pack leaders act as sergeants of the chapter. Their rune priests among the most sinister of the Librarian Creed. An eerie shadow casts a pall over their presence as they lead the Hounds of Morkai into battle against similarly psychically potent foes. Clad in grey ceramite, adorned with black backpacks, faceplates, pauldron insets, and right knee plates, their use of heraldry is largely unique to each battle brother, concerning filigree and fur cloaks, aside from the gold wolf variant aquillas on their chest plates. Their right pauldron painted with red tactical rolls such as diamonds, lightning bolts, and triangles. Veterans of the chapter replace such tactical rolls with bespoke pack markings in red, black, and white. Adopting the trappings of the Space Wolves, such as wolf badges and sigils, each Astartes marks their pack runes on their armor as replacements of Gothic numerals to signify their squad, often but not limited to being placed on their leg plating or backpacks. The symbol of their chapter, a white wolf's head atop a pair of crossed red spears upon a field of black. Its bared fangs epitomize their ferocious acts of aggression. Leaving little more than whimpering wretches in the wake of their onslaughts, these menacing sons of the Wolf King uphold their liege lord's reputation as a primal killer beyond match. The Sons of the Phoenix are an Ultima founding successor chapter of the Imperial Fists. Pious and zealous disciples of the God Emperor of mankind, the battle cants of these sons of Rogel Dawn herald their never-ending crusades. Led in battle by their chaplain order, the Sons of the Phoenix have earned great renown within the ranks of the Adeptus Munistorum as they pave the way for the Imperial Creed to spread across the stars. Beset by the Thousand Sons warband, the Cult of Change following their first campaigns, several of their men would be used as specimens to further the arcane experiments of the Sons of the Crimson King. Renowned for their service during the Wars of Antipathy and War of Beasts, many a tale has been weaved of their valiant assaults, wreathed in holy flame, as they purged the enemies of the Imperium. Clad in white ceramite, adorned with golden chest aquillas and pauldron trim, the chapter designates their tactical roll on purple insets of their right pauldron, stenciled with gold, identifying their company with golden high Gothic numerals on purple left knee plates. The chapter mimics their tactical roll of their right pauldron with a smaller design which couples with their company numeral. Battle line Astartes wear white helmets, with sergeants painting a red vertical stripe on their brow, lieutenants adopting red helmets and ornate pauldron embellishments. The symbol of their chapter, a black wing protruding from a helmet adorned with lightning bolts aside a heraldic star, befits their ostentatious presentation. Their lineage as Sons of the Vigilant, brought into question due to their peers' comparative lack of gaudy regalia, whispers persist that their similarity to the traitor Legion, the Emperor's children, requires more scrutiny to be taken into their genetic forebears. Yet for now, their numbers remain scattered throughout the galaxy with the birth of the Great Rift, the Sons of the Phoenix rallying their forces in order to continue their crusades across the stars. The Blood Scythes are an Ultima founding successor chapter of the Blood Angels. Raised during 999.M41 entirely from the stock of Primaris Space Marines, the Astartes of the Blood Scythes, though seen as green in the eyes of their peers, are swiftly proving their mettle in combat. Uniting with their primogenitor chapter, following the relief effort of the devastation of Baal, enacted by the avenging son Rabute Guilliman, the chapter has been quick to adopt the traditions of the Blood Angels. Rapidly earning a reputation as honorable warriors, the Blood Scythes are imbued with the zeal of the mightiest deeds of the Great Angel. Their first chapter campaign, the Battle of Acrabella, launched within the Red Scar, wages to this day as the chapter combats the Tyranid Hive Fleet, Leviathan. Aiding their might to the Halo campaign by defending the Shrine World from the Splinter Fleet, alongside the Cruor Blades and Flesh Eaters, they have earned great respect and plaudits. Clad in white power armor, trimmed with black, the Aquilas and Imperialis on their breastplates symbolize their devotion to spill their blood in the name of the Imperium. Designating their iconography in line with the outlines of their primogenitor, the blood scythes utilize blood drop icons to symbolize their company numbers placed upon their right pauldron and their squad designation on their knee plate. Upon their left pauldron, the chapter symbol of a black scythe, weeping a single red droplet of blood from its tip, bodes ill for their enemies should they be unfortunate enough to be within reach of their blades. For though among the most novice of all Astartes chapters, the blood scythes have already proven themselves to be a reliably deadly adversary. The Knights of the Chalice are a successor chapter of the Blood Angels. Created during the Ultima founding of 999.M41, all warriors of the chapter are comprised of Primaris Space Marines. Deployed during the Indomitus Crusade to test their abilities, the Knights of the Chalice would be renowned for their aggressive orbital strike maneuvers and proclivity to deploy vast amounts of Inceptor squads to scour their enemies' defenses. Supporting such engagements with Reaver squads to sow disorder and confusion among their opponents' ranks, the Knights of the Chalice are adept at subterfuge. Clad in bright red ceramite to honor their primogenitor, their Mark 10 power armor bears black helmets, Aquilas, and Imperialises. Utilizing the blood drop heraldry scheme of their forebears, each Astartes designates their company number on their right pauldron and heraldic squad motif on their right knee guard. Wearing the symbol of their chapter on their left pauldron, a black chalice centered on a crimson field. Though their iconography can be misinterpreted as that of the Blood Drinkers chapter, their methods of war could not be more dissimilar. Swift in their conquest of rebellious and Xenos-occupied planets, though much mystery still surrounds the chapter, they have proven to be promising acolytes of the blood. The Knights of Byzantium are an Ultima founding successor chapter of the Iron Hands. Infamous for deploying excessive amounts of firepower to every engagement, whether using heavy artillery, gunships, armored vehicles, or venerated dreadnoughts, these scions of Ferrus Manus leave little more than ashes in their wake. Clad in purple ceramite, adorned with bronze pauldron trim and chest Aquilas, these Baroque Space Marines designate their tactical roles with white paint on their right pauldron. Their pauldron insets of battle line Astartes painted white, veterans paint their left gauntlets bronze, and veteran sergeants use black insets. Marking their company by use of white High Gothic numerals on their right knee plates, sergeants of the chapter can be identified by their bronze helmets, whilst their captains are honoured with gold. The symbol of their chapter, a white hippocampus on a field of black, belies their ostentatious nature and reverence for mythical tales. Honouring the legacy of their primogenitor as they embark across the stars, as the sole Ultima founding inheritor of their Primarch's gene seed, these Knights of the Gorgon fight with unmatched zeal to earn glory in his name. The Castellans of the Rift are an Ultima founding successor chapter of the Ultramarines. Tasked with defending the perilous Narkmund Gauntlet within the Vigilus system, the sole route between Imperium Sanctus and Nihilus is constantly harried by the foes of humanity. Pushing back the tide of Xenos, traitors and heretics, which seek to deny the Imperium its sole means to traverse safely through the Cicatrix Maledictum, the assignment of the Castellans of the Rift is crucial to the war efforts of the Avenging Sun. Clad in pale green ceramite, adorned with black backpacks, white faceplates, golden chest Aquilas, and trimmed with dark green on their pauldrons and vertical helmet stripes, the chapter signifies their tactical role with white paint on their right pauldron. Designating their company with white High Gothic numerals on black left knee plates, each Astartes utilizes black High Gothic numerals atop their tactical role to identify their squad. Sergeants of the chapter wear red helmets alike to their primogenitor, denoting veteran sergeants with white vertical stripes, whilst lieutenants bisect their green helmets with red stripes paired with white. The symbol of their chapter, A white skull centered upon a pair of red cross chains atop a field of green symbolizes their duty to contain the threats of the Narkmund Gauntlet. Currently deployed to the War of Beasts of the 32nd Millennium, this war against the forces of chaos reinforced with renegade knight houses of the world of Derivar has seen the Castellans purge the dark cults of Skorval and further cemented their resolute reputation as Night Hunters of the Void.
We have known storms such as this. They raged when our chapter was raised, on Mars the Red, and to them we owe our name. We are the Lightning Bringers. Such tempests hold no fear for the Fulminators.
The Fulminators are an Ultima founding successor chapter of the Ultramarines. Its initial intake selected from the most promising Terran guards during the era of the Great Scouring. For 8 millennia, these sons of Guilliman lay in stasis below the surface of Mars. Adopting their chapter's title from the electrical storms which ravaged the surface of the Red Planet, the Fulminators' service during the War of Rust and Slime saw to the barest preservation of the Forge World of Metallica from the forces of the Death Guard. Clad in blue ceramite, adorned with gold chest aquillas and pauldron trim, the chapter identifies their tactical role with white paint on their right pauldron, each Astartes marking their squad with black paint atop such designs, with their left knee plate identifying their company with white high Gothic numerals. The symbol of their chapter, a black-winged red lightning bolt upon a field of white, honors the Forge World Principia from whence they were forged. Respected for their service during the 42nd millennium, these scions of the Mechanicus and the Avenging Sun continue to face the darkness with the fury of machine and flesh.
We are the Silver Templars, Swords of Novaris. We are the calm at the eye of the storm, and the lightning bolt that strikes amidst the tempest.
The Silver Templars are an Ultima founding successor chapter of the Ultramarines. Earning their first victories during the Indomitas Crusade as members of Rabute Guilliman's unnumbered sons, their cleanse of the world of Novaris of the warband of Slaanesh, the Flawless Host, won them the right to rule the feudal society as its new overlords. Drawing aspirants from the population skilled swordsmen to attend grand tournaments within the foothills of their fortress monastery of Colossus, those who succeed in duels to the death must scale the mountain path to their new home. The Novarian people, revered as expert weaponsmiths, their kingdom's championing of metallurgy and craftsmanship were the envy of even the Chaos worshippers of She Who Firsts. Forging their own weapons, which they carry into battle, their so-called martial bond with the machine spirits within is unbreakable, allowing for expertise in combat far in excess to many chapters, which can even extend to their armored vehicles and voidcraft. Tasked with defending the Anacatosian sector as they replenish their numbers with recruits from their new chapter world, the Silver Templars were not found wanting for wars to wage in the name of their vaunted Primarch. Dispatching 3 companies to aid in the defense of the realm of Ultramar during the Plague Wars, the chapter distinguished themselves as brave and indomitable warriors. Causing a bitter rift between themselves and their allies of the Nova Marines, the brash and vainglorious actions of Captain Zeno Patricius, causing unnecessary losses to be incurred by Nova Marine Captain Lobos's men during the siege of Thalassa Secundus. Accruing battle plaudits and glorious victories throughout the 42nd millennium, their valor confronting the speed war of Raguk on the agri-world of Ormond's Hearth, relief of Lysaeus, and assault of Nekphis further bolstered their righteous reputation. The elite of the chapter's first company ordered to swear a sword oath upon their induction. Such champions of the chapter fight alongside the battle and reserve companies to uphold their martial vows. Relying on their 8th Company Reaver and Inceptor Marines to enact the first wave of their assaults, Their 9th Fire Support Company and Scout 10th Company suppress their foes until the battle companies can lay waste to their numbers. Clad in silver ceramite, adorned with black chest plating, pauldron trim, and left knee guards, each Astartes paints their pauldron insets and aquillas with yellow. Marking their tactical role with black paint on their right pauldron, yellow high Gothic numerals on their left knee plate identifies their company. The symbol of their chapter, a black sword flanked by lightning bolts upon a field of yellow, represents their martial skill and noble demeanor. Dueling each fell champion of the enemies of the Imperium in single combat, these masters of swordplay apply cold precision and unerring focus to achieve domination of their adversaries. The Void Tridents are an Ultima Founding successor chapter of the Ultramarines. Inhabiting the ocean world of Talassar within the realm of Ultramar, the warrior creed of their naval society has heavily influenced the chapter's combat doctrine. Masters of void warfare, specializing in boarding actions, low-gravity maneuvers, and ship-to-ship bombardments, under the tutelage of their chapter master, Lord Commodore Theodro Lathyrus, the chapter excels at planetary orbital assaults. The first chapter to cross the Narkmund Gauntlet following the birth of the Cicatrix Maledictum during the Indomitus Crusade, these pathfinders of Ultramar have proven crucial in navigating through the dark corners of the void. Clad in dark blue ceramite, white pauldron insets, copper chest aquillas, helmets, and pauldron trim, their heraldry honors the maritime traditions of Talassar, mimicking its blue oceans, white ship sails, and copper fittings. Marking their tactical roles with red paint on their right pauldrons, each Astartes denotes their squad by use of black high Gothic numerals atop their designs. Designating their company number with red high Gothic numerals on their left knee plate, sergeants are identified by their use of white vertical stripes on their helmets, whilst lieutenants impose a red stripe flanked with white. The symbol of their chapter, a red trident atop a field of white, similarly to their regalia, upholds their admiration for their homeworld's naval traditions. Assigned to protect the domains of the Avenging Sun, following the onslaught of the Plague Wars, the Void Tridents continue to earn glory for the Talassarian people. The Black Vipers are an Ultima Founding successor chapter of the Salamanders. Kept secret from their primogenitor for several years following their founding, with the Salamanders learning of their existence, Chaplain Sergosi embarked to spread the teachings of the Promethean cult to his kinsmen. Hearing no word from their pilgrimaging chaplain since, none know the fate of the spiritual exemplar of Nocturne, nor if his teachings reached these morbid warriors. Antisocial and spurning all contact with those they collaborate with on the field of war, the Vipers have made no efforts to bolster camaraderie with the many branches of the Adeptus Astartes or Astra Militarum. Clad in black ceramite, trimmed with red backpacks, knee plates, chest aquillas, and pauldron trim, each Astartes stencils their tactical role with red paint on their right pauldron, identifying their squad with red low Gothic numerals within the design of their tactical role. Each battle brother similarly uses black low Gothic numerals on their left knee plate to mark their squad. The symbol of their chapter, a red viper's head on a field of black, belies their nature as deadly hunters. Stalking the darkest depths of the void in search of prey, the Black Vipers continue to fight alone as the agents of Belisarius Cawl attempt to monitor their progress. The Covenant of Fire are an Ultima Founding successor chapter of the Salamanders. Yearning for knowledge of the Imperium's past glories and secret lore, the chapter seeks to bring light to the darkness of the void through intellectual enlightenment. Purging heretics with holy flame wherever it lurks, their primogenitor's dispatch of chaplains to teach their descendants of the Promethean cult has only encouraged their proclivity to incinerate all documents that contradict their beliefs. Clad in orange ceramite adorned with black helmets, pauldrons, and arm plating, Each battle brother adopts golden chest aquilers and pauldron trim to their regalia, assigning their tactical role on black left knee plates with yellow markings. The chapter likewise designates their squad with yellow low Gothic numerals on their right pauldrons. The symbol of their chapter, an open tome of knowledge set ablaze with fire. Some of the more scrupulous historians of the Imperium are wary of its stark similarity to the icon of the arch-betrayers, the Word-Bearers. Enacting libricide of all knowledge deemed heretical in the eyes of the God Emperor of mankind, these zealous sons of Vulcan attempt to emancipate humanity from the fell influence of chaos. The Dark Krakens are an Ultima founding successor chapter of the Salamanders. Veterans among their ranks, drawn from the unnumbered sons of Rabute Guilliman, their service fighting as Grey Shields of the Era Indomitors has allowed for their hard-won experience to bolster their chapter's effectiveness. Once informed of the existence of the Dark Krakens, their primogenitor, the Salamanders, dispatched a senior chaplain to their homeworld of Catus in order to impart the teachings of the Promethean cult to their brethren. The peoples of the planet, hunting myriad creatures of the vast oceans of Noctis for food and sport, the chapter has in turn incorporated the culture of their homeworld into their character. Facing the Orcs and Tyranids during the Octarius War within the Pancalis subsector, the Dark Krakens defended the Bianzir Hollow system following the fall of the Cordon in Penetra. Aiding the Wolfspear chapter, Astra Militarum, and Deathwatch of Watch Fortress Eye of Octus, the Dark Krakens under the command of their chapter master, Mezoniki Reo, sought to drive back the Xenos. Masters of hunting the gargantuan native wildlife of their homeworld, such as the Megabasilosaurs of the Kesarami Ocean, these sons of Vulcan stemmed the tide of aliens during the Battle of the Night of 100 Horrors. Surviving months of grueling combat against the Tyranids, the chapter has earned great respect from the Chamber Militant of the Ordo Xenos for their valor combating the Great Devourer. Clad in black ceramite, adorned with grey iron chest aquilers, purple pauldron insets, and arm plating, the chapter marks its tactical role with red paint on their right pauldron, marking their squad number with white High Gothic numerals on such designs. Utilizing strange symbols to mark their greatest glories, such as the Death Clamp, Fang Coil, Hammerhead, and Hydra Serpens, such pagan symbols are reminders not only of glorious victories, but also bitter defeats and shames which must be absolved. The symbol of their chapter, a white kraken on a field of purple, epitomizes their nature as hunters of the most colossal and dangerous foes. Resolute in facing the most monstrous enemies of the Imperium, the Dark Krakens keep their blades sharp to better hunt malevolent Xenos and heretics alike. The Dragon Spears are an Ultima founding successor chapter of the Salamanders. Gloried for their joint campaign fighting alongside the Space Wolves chapter against the Orcs of the Narian Reef, these descendants of Vulcan have become experts at hunting the Greenskins. Taught the teachings of the Promethean cult from their primogenitor upon learning of their genetic ties, due to the Dragon Spear's standing as a fleet-based chapter, their ranks had for many years conducted strange practices such as rituals of self-sacrifice and cannibalism of their fallen battle brothers in order to retain their legacies. Absorbing their dead kinsmen's memories by virtue of their omophagia-implanted organs, their inherited expertise in battle has aided in their effectiveness during the Prosperan Rift War and Chancellin Suppression. Clad in pale cyan ceramite, adorned with black helmet stripes and white chest aquilers, the chapter marks their tactical role in their right pauldron with black low Gothic numerals centered on the designs to identify their squad. The symbol of their chapter, two crossed black spears atop a white shield, exemplifies their noble duty to defend the innocence of the Imperium. Earning an oath of brotherhood whilst fighting alongside the Vilka Fenrika, the chapter upholds their pledge to fight at the side of their comrades during the Great War of Gazgul Mag Uruk Fraka. The Iron Ravens are an Ultima founding successor chapter of the Raven Guard. Following in their primogenitor's footsteps as masters of shock assaults, their patience in gathering intelligence, thanks to the efforts of their 10th Scout Company, allows for victories made with a single precision drop pod assault maneuver known as the Blade of Corax. Each senior officer a veteran of Rabute Guilliman's unnumbered sons, their early years fighting alongside the many disciples of various gene lineages has encouraged the chapter to be flexible in their tactics used in battle, which has in turn lessened their use of stealth as a champion strategy. Clad in silver ceramite, adorned with blue knee plates, pauldron insets and helmets, trimmed with gold chest aquilers and red vertical stripes on their brows, the chapter identifies their company with the prescribed Codex-compliant color scheme trimming their pauldrons. As an Astartes gains promotion, more of their ceramite shall be painted blue, with veterans painting their arms, while sergeants and lieutenants are distinguished with varying patterns of red and blue on their helmets. Marking their tactical role with white paint on their right pauldron, each Astartes utilizes white low-Gothic numerals on their right knee plate to signify their squad. The symbol of their chapter, a white stylized raven upon a field of blue, closely mimics their primogenitor's vaunted heraldry. Determined to forge a legacy befitting the sons of the Raven Lord, the resolve of the Iron Ravens to match their peers' accolades is beyond question. The Necropolis Hawks are an Ultima founding successor chapter of the Raven Guard. Masters of close quarters combat, specializing in urban warfare environments, their use of livery bears unique quirks in order to be legible whilst blending with the obscuring dust and smoke of citified battlefields. Gloried for their service during the War of Beasts, when dispatching 7 companies to the world of Vigilus, their efforts encompass the pendulum swing which shifted the war in the Imperium's favor through their securing of safe zones. Clad in livid ceramite, adorned with white helmets, backpacks, pauldron insets and arm plating, the chapter marks their tactical role with black paint on their right pauldron, identifying their squad with white low-Gothic numerals atop such designs, designating their squad with unique heraldic symbols on their backpacks, with white low-Gothic numerals atop black right knee plates, signifying their company. The chapter trims their pauldron with the prescribed Codex-compliant color scheme to denote their company. Standard Battle Brothers paint their vent of their helmets with yellow paint, while sergeants wear red helmets with white faceplates, veteran sergeants adopting white stripes, and lieutenants bearing white helmets marked with red stripes. The symbol of their chapter, a stylized black raptor's head on a field of white, imitates the Raptor Imperialis of Terra's Unification Wars, which was also characterized by many engagements of urban warfare. Typified by cold-blooded pragmatism and carefully applied aggression, these meticulous sons of the Liberator uphold the legacy of deliverance. The Rift Stalkers are an Ultima founding successor chapter of the Raven Guard. Aiding the forces of the Imperium during their battle against the forces of chaos within the Bargai Stars, the celebrations of the conclusion of 7 brutal years of war secured by the chapter would be known as the Triumphant Return. Cut short by the invasion of Awar, led by the Orc war boss, Grug Faceripper, the chapter resumed their defense of the world of Tremendix and Aposia as bloodshed resumed. Clad in white ceramite, adorned with black chest aquilers, the chapter marks their tactical role with black stencils on their right pauldron, signifying their company with use of Codex-compliant colors on its trim, whilst using black low-Gothic numerals on their left knee plate to identify their squad. The symbol of their chapter, a stylized black raven on a field of white, honors their primogenitor and the legacy of the Raven Lord. Deployed to the Spiral Nebula against the forces of the Thousand Suns during the fall of the Vision of Torment, the chapter has earned glory for their sacrifices made to defeat the Sons of Magnus for solar months of naval campaigning. The Brazen Skulls are an Ultima founding successor chapter of unknown origin. Their only recorded engagement of the original chapter recorded during the Sabbat World's crusade against the forces of Chaos. The entirety of their number were annihilated during 773.M41. Reinstated as a revived chapter comprised entirely of Primaris Space Marines, these inheritors of the mantle of the Brazen Skulls toil relentlessly to live up to the reputation of their forebears. Clad in blue ceramite, adorned with bronze helmets, chest aquillas and pauldron trim, the chapter paints the insets of their pauldrons with black. Identifying their squad with tactical roles painted with bronze on their right pauldrons, each Astartes marks their squad with white high Gothic numerals atop the designs, designating their company by use of Codex-compliant colored right knee plates coupled with white numerals. The symbol of their chapter, a bronze skull on a field of black, signifies their oath to destroy the enemies of the Imperium. Walking in the shadow of their martyred forerunners, the chapter's tenacious charges into the heart of chaos bolsters their heroic reputation. The Rift Cobras are an Ultima Founding successor chapter of unknown origin. Noted for their service during the assault of the Keban subsector, combating the Orc Xenos during the 42nd millennium, the chapter sought to slay the Greenskin war boss, Backrash, alongside the Templars of the Covenant and Iron Hounds chapter. Clad in black ceramite, adorned with dark green pauldron trim, knee plates, olive helmets and arm plating, the chapter marks their company using the prescribed Codex Astartes color scheme on their chest aquillas, identifying their tactical role with white markings on their right pauldron. Each Astartes uses black low Gothic numerals atop such designs to identify their squad. The symbol of their chapter, a white viper's head on a field of black, exemplifies their deadly, sudden strikes. Currently deployed to the Octarius War, rife with orcs and the Tyranids of High Fleet Leviathan, the chapter hunts the deadliest aliens, which the Death Watch have failed to cull. This has been a tale of the Great Imperium of Man, read by the Remembrancer. As with all changes, the Primaris Space Marines have not been universally accepted by the many brethren of their Astartes creed. Largely unproven when compared to their peers, who all bear plaudits won through millennia of toil, the enhanced experiments of Belisarius Cawl continue to bear immense scrutiny despite their unquestionable advantages. While advancement of technology and progression of scientific achievement causes many to bristle, a balance must be made with retaining the virtues of the past and forging new ideas. Stultification and stagnation must be avoided at all costs, yet rampant innovation with no regard for reliable traditions is equally dangerous. So remember to pursue balance when confronting the problems you must correct, adhering to the wisdom of the past while striving to create bold and prosperous new designs.